And we welcome you back to Oakland, California. This was the scene just about 72 hours ago. Wow, was this Warriors team impressive, and they were pumped up during and after game one. LeBron James, really after that first quarter, not so much, as well as the rest of the Cavaliers team, who were simply outplayed, out-hustled, out everything here in game one of the NBA Finals. We are at Oracle Arena once again, live getting you set for game two of the NBA Finals. You see KD smiling there. It looks a lot like he did on the court. And here's Draymond Green entering the tunnel here underneath the ground at Oracle Arena. Just a couple of minutes ago, LeBron on the court as we speak. You see his average this postseason, just over 32 points per game, 8 boards and 7 assists, spectacular numbers. 28 points in game one, despite the loss. And the ugliest number that he will tell you, pretty obvious, 8 turnovers. Not acceptable by LeBron James standards, certainly, but that was then, and this is now, as the Cleveland Cavaliers get set to try to tie this series up at one apiece. I'm Sage Steele. Welcome back courtside here at Oracle as we get set for game two. And once again, 3 days since the Warriors' utter domination over the Cavaliers, the 22-point margin, it was just the 8th time in NBA Finals history that a game one was decided by more than 20 points. The Warriors certainly put a stamp on this series from the get-go, at least in game one. Some keys in game one, it was a dunk fest from the tip for the Warriors. Remember, they had 11 dunks in the first half, most by any team in a half in the finals over the last 20 years. And on that note, points in the paint, critical for the Warriors. They won that 56-30. The team with the most points in the paint has won 7 of the last 8 finals meetings between these teams. So if the Cavs want to even this series out tonight, they'll need to cut down on those turnovers, obviously. 20 in game one, again, 8 by LeBron. But by contrast, the Warriors turned it over just 4 times. That is tied for the fewest ever in an NBA Finals game. The recipe for success, if you're this home team, is as follows. And this is just kind of the top 3. 31-0. They're 31-0 this season when finishing with more than 25 fast break points. And if they get out to that hot start as they did in game 2, they probably will not lose Michael Wilbon, because they're 22-0 when they score at least 35 points in the first quarter. Take a look now at LeBron James on the free throw line, getting warmed up here. You know, these guys go through their usual pre-game warm-ups, their routines, with headphones on more often than not these days, but they do whatever it takes to stay focused. Take a look at his career finals games. And by the way, that last number, 41, that's spectacular. That's what happens when you go to 7 straight and 8 overall. But a 27-point per game average, as well as 10 rebounds. As you see LeBron on the court. On the other side of the court, you have Warriors standing just behind me here. Let's say hello to Michael Wilbon, joining us live once again. And Michael, I was going to wait to bring this up to you.
Uh-oh.
However,
I'm being
I
set
can't
up
wait.
already, Sage?
No. You set yourself up pre-game, game one, when you were mortified and absolutely offended that some people thought that this might be a 4-0 sweep of the Cavaliers by the Warriors, or maybe 5-1.
I'm even more so now.
Or 4-1.
Yeah.
So after the domination by the Warriors, 22 points, could have been much worse considering they missed so many layups, correct?
Yeah.
Are you still as offended that many people thought this would be an easy series for the Warriors?
Do you remember last year?
I was here, yes.
Let's see. So the Warriors won game 1 by about 15. I don't have a box score in front of me. They won game 2 by close to 30. What happened in that series again? Tell me, remind me, refresh my memory.
They were up 3-1, and for the first time ever in finals history, they gave up that lead. I understand. However, not one of those games last year were won by the Warriors in that fashion, in the paint. These lanes were clear, wide open. Even KD was shocked
they'll close
about
them
that.
down.
How do they do it that easily? How do they adjust that easily?
Look at tape for 2 days, get angry, stew, practice, and do it. I mean, people act like this is rocket science. It isn't. I mean, they're going to play better, and they're going to force the Warriors into more turnovers. 4, I'll give you an over/under on turnovers for the Warriors in the first quarter. 4 quarter. So I'm not saying Cleveland is going to win this game. I'm saying they're going to play much better. This is what happens when a professional team that is a championship team that won Game 7 on this floor last year. Oh, wait, Games 5 and 7. Mm-hmm. You think they were just shopping in Union Square all weekend?
Absolutely not. Okay. However, the presence of Kevin Durant Wow, that was as evident as it gets that this is a different
Brilliant.
team from a year ago. Stand by, Michael, because we have to get a quick check here from Brian Windhorst, who has some news about the Cavs. Brian?
There may, Sage, we'll have to see what the Cavs end up doing, but in addition to changing their uniforms, we may see them alter their lineups a little bit with the second unit. They've put a little bit of pressure on J.R. Smith. They want J.R. to be very active in shooting the ball. He only took one shot after the first quarter in Game 1, and they want J.R. to be aggressive in the first quarter of Game 2. If not, they may be willing to change their lineup and go with some different rotations in the second unit. The second unit has been the most important unit for the Cavs the last couple of rounds in the playoffs. Obviously, their starters are where the money is. That second unit led by LeBron James, Darren Williams, Kyle Korver has been very important. They need more production out of that unit, and they'd be willing to alter that a little bit if JR doesn't get off to a good start tonight.
Thank you, Brian. Mike Wilbon, your thoughts on that possibility?
Whatever they can do to get those four guys to be better than 1 for 14 shooting and make one basket after the first possession of the game, they'll do. And that's one of the subtle adjustments. Yeah, you need more production out of them, but you have to get a better game, fewer turnovers out of LeBron James. The stars have to be better as well. Kevin Love, I know he had a big rebounding game, 15, I think. He's got to be better. They all have to be better. And I expect champions to be better. After getting knocked around in Game 1, I expect them to be better in Game 2.
By the way, Kevin Love, 15 points and 21 rebounds for him. He was a monster, but it's not something that's being talked about, of course, especially on the other side with Tristan Thompson, 0 points, just 4 rebounds. So I guess my question for you is picking up on what we said before, Brian, is, well, of course, they're going to play harder, they're going to do things differently, and it's going to be a different game. Is it that easy, honestly? Because they made it look so difficult themselves the other day.
They made it look difficult because the Warriors had an A-plus game and the Cavaliers had a C-minus game. So, of course, there's a great disparity then. It's going to be hard for the Warriors to reproduce that when there's force coming from the other direction. I don't care about the uniforms they're wearing, and I don't even care about the subtle lineup changes. They're going to have to play with more physical force and see what it is the officials let them get away with. That's what they did last year. They knocked Steph Curry around. They moved Klay Thompson around physically. Now, they did more of that in Cleveland, but they also did it in Games 5 and 7 here. They got to get to that in Game 2, and they ought to be talking about that a lot more than they're talking about whether they're wearing the black jerseys.
I agree, but hey, at this point, it's such a mental game for these guys too, whatever it takes, and I truly expect it to be so much more physical this time down low, started probably by those Cleveland Cavaliers. Where are we going to next here? I believe we're going, Mike Brown, the acting head coach, of course, for the Golden State Warriors. He's done a heck of a job, Mike Wilbon, 11-0 this postseason as acting head coach. But here's the interesting part. In Game 1, we weren't sure, almost basically up till tip-off, whether or not he would be coaching or Steve Kerr. We talked about the press conference that's coming up shortly here. We'll bring it to you, hopefully live, if not as soon as it happens, right afterwards. When we asked him in Game 1, he's like, I'm not sure if I'll be coaching. And that's about an hour and a half before tip.
He was hoping Steve would coach.
Which is a great thing, that he says, hey, coach, you let me know if you want to go in. Does it surprise you, though, that it's coming down to right before tip-off for the decision?
It did. It did, Sage. It doesn't today because I talked to Mike Brown at length about this a couple of days ago. And he said to Steve Kerr, told us that he was hoping that Steve could be out there and could coach, and told him that and said he could come in. I'm sure he told you the same thing. He can come in at any time. He can go back to the assistant, to the other seat whenever Steve needed that. So we don't know right now. One reason we're waiting on this news conference, pregame news conference, is I'm told that if Steve Kerr is the person that appears in that news conference, it will be Steve Kerr who's sitting in the head coaching seat, and we'll see him out here for the first time in all those many games. It is weird, isn't it?
It is.
But I don't think it distracts them. I think it would serve to be a little bit of a bump to the Warriors to see their coach out there. They so identify with him. They feel for him and the pain, physical pain he's going through that has kept him off the sideline and sort of in the locker room and texting them instead of talking to them in person in huddles out here. So we got a little bit of drama as we wait to see who's going to be at that press conference.
If Mike Brown is sitting in that chair, that does not necessarily mean that Steve Kerr won't be coaching, because the other day he wasn't sure. So we're
reading tea leaves.
We will let you know the second that we know, guys. In the meantime, LeBron James, he doesn't care who's coaching on the other side. He knows that he has to fix this thing and get back to the way he always plays, primarily in the finals. Max, Kevin, back to you in Bristol.